Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley.
I'm John.
Drop into a squat and give us your best power level scream because Dragon Ball FighterZ is finally coming out this week and well ahead of its launch on January 26th. We've got some early reviews trickling in.
You screaming drop into a squat sounded very much like snap into a Slim Jim. But all this means we can answer the question of what's stronger, Vegeta's Beyond Super Saiyan Blue mode or Goku's Ultra Instinct mode?
Yeah, that question.
Oh wait, that's a different video. In this one we're going to answer the question, is Dragon Ball FighterZ any good?
And
you gotta say that Z.
Anyway, judging by the early numbers, it looks like at the very least the answer to whether or not it's any good is yeah, it is.
That's good.
Dragon Ball FighterZ is currently sporting an 87 on Metacritic and OpenCritic, which is well below 9,000, but obviously still very respectable as far as video games go. And for some critics, it's maybe one of the first must-buy titles of 2018.
Did Brian write this one? Because that's a bad 9,000 thing.
No, that was Eddie. That was all Eddie.
Both old men making dad jokes in these things.
That's basically, this channel is like dad jokes.
Old dads write news.
Also, they really enjoy seeing what they can get us to read.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Dragon Ball FighterZ wins that by default. But hey, more power to them. If you want to know how that stacks up to the most recent Dragon Ball outings, 2015 Xenoverse ended up at a 69 on Metacritic, and Xenoverse 2 netted a 72. And it doesn't get much better for the older games from there. 2014's Battle of Z landed at 54, and Budokai HD Collection got a 63. So yeah, this is looking way better as far as Dragon Ball Z games go.
Way better. Overall, the critics had a lot of really good things to say about Dragon Ball FighterZ storyline and how it honors the anime and its fans, plus the actual fighting mechanics make it awesome for newbies and experts alike. Plus, come on, it looks amazing. It's a gorgeous game.
It looks awesome. It looks exactly how you'd want an anime fighting game to look.
Yeah, it does.
On the flip side, some reviewers felt that the game sometimes skewed just a little bit too easy in terms of executing combos, which could frustrate more hardcore players.
Although, games like this also do take some time to settle in. You go through these phases where everyone's figuring things out and then it gradually evolves. We won't know how the game plays long term for a little while probably, but it's still a valid criticism. First, however, let's talk about the good stuff because there's plenty of that to go around, especially for the reviewers who are big fans of the franchise. For those that don't know, Dragon Ball FighterZ uses the tried and true Arc System Works formula seen in titles like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue and combines it with ridiculous Dragon Ball Z fights in a 3-on-3 2.5D fighter.
And apparently it does so to resounding success. WCC F-Tech said in its 9 out of 10 review that this might be the best Dragon Ball game ever made, writing Dragon Ball FighterZ is a game that does so much right. It's a hardcore fighting game experience as well as a more casual button masher. It's a competitive fighter as well as a Dragon Ball side story. Other Dragon Ball games have done Dragon Ball style mechanics better. Xenoverse's 3D flight feels very authentic, but Dragon Ball FighterZ feels like the best of both worlds and is one of the very best Dragon Ball games of all time.
So that's not light praise.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with one of the game's shining features and something that should be pretty evident from the trailers and early glimpses. Dragon Ball FighterZ is simply stunning according to not just us, but also all of the reviews.
Yeah, GameRant praised the game's visuals, writing, "Let me just come out and say this right now, Dragon Ball FighterZ is gorgeous. It is one of the most colorful, smooth, intricately detailed, well-animated fighting games I've ever seen. Attention to detail has been painstakingly placed into every frame of Dragon Ball FighterZ. From backdrops to character animation, there isn't a moment in the game where a character's movement, dialogue, or location felt out of place."
But of course, what really helps bring all that beautiful animation home is the game's very well fleshed out story mode. The game gives you a surprising amount of freedom with loads of player choice, tons of great moments filled with humor and fan service, and variable cutscenes depending on who you have in your party.
Following Goku and Bulma investigating some mysterious clones of all your favorite Z fighters, the story mode sounds incredibly rewarding for fans and offers a whole lot of replayability thanks to branching pathways. Plus, the newly introduced Android 21 is a lot of fun.
EGM loved this story mode, saying the new saga of Android 21, a brand new character made for the game, and her quest to literally devour every living being includes twists and turns that one would expect from a role-playing game, not so much a fighter. The game's foundation in Dragon Ball Z's anime makes this possible as the development team turned FighterZ into more of an interactive film.
While many critics loved the story mode, it definitely had a few detractors. For instance, IGN called it derivative, with a lot of padding, so it's worth noting that it wasn't universally loved.
But what was almost universally loved was the game's actual fighting mechanics, which is probably a good thing considering the genre. One of the things that really makes the game unique is its charge meter, which in and of itself isn't all that special since lots of fighters have charge meters, but Dragon Ball FighterZ has 7 levels of charge that power both offensive and defensive moves, which helps fuel matches with unpredictable action because a fighter has a lot of flexibility at any moment.
GameSpot writes, it also means fun is just seconds away, being that it's so simple to cover ground, participate in mechanical mind games, and look impressive while doing it. There's practically no barrier to enjoyment, provided you are fighting with opponents of a similar skill level.
Of course, one thing that will fall firmly in line with the whole your mileage may vary camp is something that was equally loved and maybe not so loved by reviewers, and that is the game's accessibility.
No, don't let everybody play your game.
Why would you want people to be able to enjoy it if they have not enjoyed it before?
Yeah.
You need to earn your enjoyment.
We only want old players. Part of that accessibility comes from how the game's input works, with overcomplicated special moves completely absent. Eurogamer loved the game's moveset writing. There are no 360 motions in Dragon Ball FighterZ. There are no 2/4 circle motions. You don't even have to press 2 buttons for super attacks. All you need is to master the down, forward, and a button, and the down, back, and a button input commands. And for some characters, down, down, and a button. That's it.
You know all the moves now.
Done.
EGM said in its review, the game is built for anyone to jump in and enjoy. FighterZ approach to combat is quite simplistic at first, with combos triggered by short commands, but as the player learns more moves, the mechanics do become slightly more complicated. While combos are easily accessed, efficiently stringing them together takes a solid understanding of the overall mechanics, which is likely what will separate casual players from competitive.
Sounds like easy to play, difficult to master.
Which is really the ideal for any game, right?
Yeah.
You want people to be able to hop in and enjoy themselves and feel like, oh, I'm getting it. But at the very highest level, you want that to be difficult. You want it to be challenging.
Others, however, felt that combos could be executed a bit too easily, which will no doubt frustrate more competitive players when going against newbies who will favor button mashing. IGN criticized this design, saying, the one place where its simplicity goes too far is that each character has 2 highly damaging auto combos that you can execute by just mashing either the light or medium attack buttons. Add on to that the ability to use a safe on-block homing attack that can quickly close the distance and enable those auto combos to land, and you have a system where low skill tactics are very effective.
That being said, many reviewers acknowledge that despite this, there is a great deal of skill required to chain together these combos, with the best combos only achievable if you know what you're doing. So that should be encouraging for fighting game fans.
It also kind of makes sense that a Dragon Ball game would have just a ton of moves and explosions happening, so...
At all times.
At all times,
You
so.
want it to be crazy. You want it to be really frantic, right?
Yeah, either way, the reviewers were happy to report the game is at its most fun when you're matched with someone of your own skill level, and in fact, that's where it shines most. Fortunately, they were also happy to report that the matchmaking systems work as advertised in its online mode, which is no doubt where most players will spend their time.
And lastly, we've got to give a bit of a loot box update. According to the early reviews, the loot boxes in Dragon Ball FighterZ are actually pretty tolerable. The contents of the boxes are cosmetic only and can be earned pretty simply just by playing the game without spending any money, which is always good news. If you've got to have loot boxes, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, so in short, if you're a fan of either fighting games or Dragon Ball Z or both, Dragon Ball FighterZ has a whole lot of fun waiting for you. The versatile story mode is especially nice for series fans, but even if you're not, the actual fighting mechanics should be enough to win you over.
However, it's worth noting that if you're a hardcore fighting game fan, you might be put off by some of the game's auto combos and other special abilities that will close the skill up gap a little bit.
Yeah, what do you guys think of the early reviews of Dragon Ball FighterZ? Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on all this year's biggest video games, remember to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the nose.
That's the stupidest joke ever.
John, how many Dragon Ball characters can you name? Go
I
for
don't
it.
know.
Vegeta.
Goku, Vegeta, Bulma, Piccolo.
Piccolo?
Piccolo's the little ball dude, right?
No, Piccolo's the big green guy.
Piccolo's the big green guy. Little
Looks
ball
like a
dude
big old pickle.
is short stack.
It's not- no.
And then there's Radish, Oddish.